to The Scene Woman, our second episode. Oh my goodness, I am super excited about this one. So today I will be interviewing a very special guest, someone who I really respect, all the way from the United States of America. Just grab a cup of tea and watch. Good afternoon. Welcome to The Scene Woman. I am so excited about this episode because you're someone that I really admire. I don't know that, but yeah, you're someone I really admire. And thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. I really appreciate this. And I know a lot of women would appreciate what they would learn from you today. So first of all, I would like to ask your name. So what is your name and what do you do?
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Thank you. I feel really blessed and honored for you to invite me to share this platform with you. So yeah. My name is Oreoluwa Ishola, and I am an entrepreneur. I'm the founder of Oreoluwa. We are a faith-based home fragrance store. So we deal with candles, diffusers, linen sprays, just like smell goods that help your home and environment. And we lace that with faith. The names of our products are inspired by scripture. And, we just love that element because it's like having words of affirmation around your home, but also, the duality of it in that it makes your home smell good. So that's what I do.
Where is your business located? Like, is it just in America or?
Yeah, so we are located in Lagos and also the US. So we have a storefront in Lagos, but in the US, we are virtually operated. So we just have our online outfit here. So 2 countries at this time.
My second question is, so what inspired you to start your entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, so I would say that Oreoluwa is my second venture into entrepreneurship. So I really started entrepreneurship when I was in the university, and it was honestly just a way to make extra money. At the time, I was cooking after classes. I went to a school where we had a lot of Africans that were coming into the school, but we didn't have places where you could source for African food. Well, Nigerian food, let me be very specific, Nigerian food. And it was something I loved to do. So I just started cooking, after classes, and I would sell to students and I would earn extra money that way. But later on, as I began to progress into, entrepreneurship and all of that, I think the strongest motivation for me has been, I wouldn't say the freedom it gives, because anyone who's into entrepreneurship knows that you're working 24/7, really. But the flexibility that it would give me. So I thought about when I want to start my own family and all of that stuff, how would I be able to juggle motherhood and, and business, or working a 9 to 5, a traditional 9 to 5. And so just the thought of, me being my own boss and, working around my own schedule while I make extra income, while also, having time to raise a family, was really appealing to me. And I think till date, that has been really my strongest motivation, is to be able to just create that time for my family.
I like that. Being an entrepreneur gives you that flexibility to do whatever you want and, just broaden yourself. Okay, so what does it mean to be seen as a woman in your field? What does it mean to be seen, to be, visible to the world as a woman in this generation?
So I would say specifically in my own field, with the fragrances and all of that, if you look at the loudest perfumers or the top perfumers in the world, a lot of them are actually male, and a lot of them don't look like us. They don't look Black. They're white people. And for a very long time, that's just how it's been. And so when I started Oreoluwa, one of the goals that I had was to be the largest fragrance house out of Africa and to really represent Africa on that map, because we're just not recognized at this time. And so for me, this journey of being seen is really progressing in that light and really bringing Africa on the map as not just a poverty-stricken continent, but one that can also have and enjoy luxurious experiences. And I believe that's what Oreoluwa is really aiming towards being. So, I think to answer your question more firmly, is in my industry, being seen is really being recognized as one that is able to contribute to perfumery just like anybody else, because it just doesn't exist at this time.
I'm going to ask you another question. What was the biggest fear you had to overcome at the start of your business? What experience did you overcome, or you had to overcome? What was that was like a breach for you?
I would say, if I was to put it simply, it was the fear of failure. So, like I said, this was my second venture. The first venture I had was cooking, and it just aligned really perfectly with what I felt was my natural abilities at the time. And I thought, okay, I'm going to expand this. I'm going to own my own store. I'm going to have my own restaurant, rather, and it's going to be fantastic. Well, I lost all my money trying to do that. And so I just thought to myself, okay, entrepreneurship is not for me. I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to even go down this path again. And so when this business really started in the pandemic, and I had a vision that the Lord gave me about this business, and the prompting in my heart was to go ahead and start this. And I was just like, God, this is like the most random thing ever. Like, everybody knows me for cooking. Now I'm supposed to be doing candle. Like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, so I thought about failing. I thought about, what will people say? And just all these fears that came to me. Like, people would think I'm unserious. Like, I couldn't even stand up my restaurant. Now I'm trying to do something else. Like, and so I really had to navigate all of those voices that were coming to me at the time. And what kept me going was really what God had said about this business. And so I ventured out and I said, God, it's me and you on this journey. I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm willing to trust you. And God being so good, by the end of that year, I had recouped my initial capital back that I had started. And so I started this business November 2020. By December, we already started shipping internationally. By 2023, we launched our store in Lagos. And, for everyone who knows how doing business in Nigeria is, well, especially because I'm not even present there, that it was a lot to really contend with in terms of, okay, who are the people that I can trust that would man the store while I'm away? How is the store going to make money? All of that. But God has been amazingly great to us. I mean, I can go on for days on stories, but the business is doing well. I'm not there. We have two fantastic employees that really take the business as their own. And I sleep well at night. Everything is going well. All I have to do is just, check in, and everything is going well. So it really is a testimony that we're able to even, keep afloat with all of the crazy, foreign exchange rates that has been going on in the country. Like, you're thinking to yourself, well, people even want to buy candles and all of these things who can barely afford a meal. But again, God has been sending people our way. And so all of those fears I initially had, right now, they don't even exist anymore. The fear now I have, and what I don't even want to say is a fear, is, okay, God, how do we scale? That's now the conversation. Like, okay, we've gotten to this level. How do we now take it to the next? And so that's an ongoing conversation with me and God on how we're going to do that. Yeah.
So it's just me asking you a lot of questions.
No.
What's one thing people don't see behind the success of your business?
I would say one thing people don't see behind the success of my business is some things that I've shared. It's a lot of doubt. It's really a lot of doubt. A lot of just imposter syndrome, feeling like, what am I doing? A lot of confusion sometimes, because you're navigating, for me especially, I'm navigating waters that nobody in my circle has navigated this with before. Like, nobody in my circle has been in this industry, and so this is a first for all of us. And so, you talk about mentorship and all of those things. When I look in my circle, no one has ventured into this industry. And so this is extremely new. And it's just me and God at this time. And, when you're walking with God, because He's seeing the end, you're just seeing the now. He's asking you sometimes to take steps that are so beyond what you would think is even necessary. Like, when He asked us to, get a store in Lagos, I was just like, God, I don't think this is necessary. At some point, I just said, it's okay. Like, we don't even have to open the store. It's fine. But you see, all of those doubts come, and people just see that you're doing the thing, but they don't see the nights where you're crying and you're just like, I don't think I can do this, and I don't even know who to talk to about this because, like I said, in my own network, nobody really has navigated trying to do something like this. And so it's those things that people don't see. It's the silent tears, it's the silent prayers, it's the doubts that you have to even overcome in your mind. It's a snide remarks that people make that kind of get to you. Like, are you sure you're doing business in Nigeria and you're here? Those things, you're just trying to put a strong face like you know what you're doing, but sometimes they can really get to you, and it's those things people don't see. And I don't think they need to see it anyway, but people just see, oh, you're doing this thing and it's looking good, and oh wow, you're doing amazing, but they don't know that the night before you were just crying. So those are the things that people don't see. Yeah.
So, was there ever a time you felt invincible or overlooked? And if you ever had that experience, how did you overcome it? How did you navigate that situation?
That's a really good question. I think, being overlooked, yes, there have been times, especially in, in corporate work. I don't think we've met in real life before, but if you meet me, I'm so short. I'm like 5'2.5". I like to say I'm 5'3", but I'm so short. And so like if we're in a crowd of people, you literally would not see me because I am below average heights, And so sometimes, and that used to really bother me sometimes because I used to feel like I want to be this bigger than life personality, and I just feel like even my stature does not help. And then, my personality sometimes can be very soft and kind of laid back a bit. And it's not that I'm trying to form deep or whatever, it's just who I am. And so I think those things combined, sometimes I've definitely run into moments where people look down on me and like, they're like, what does she have to offer? Like, who is this person? Like, she can barely even see past this stool. And so I'm a minister at my church, and it's so funny to me that even on the pulpit, it's so hard to see past the pulpit sometimes. And so I can literally feel people looking at me like, who is this person? Like, where is she coming from? But I always say, at least to encourage myself, that God uses the most overlooked people and the people that nobody really expects anything out of, actually. And he just wants to make a name for himself. And so what I've realized is, let God just do what God does. And I've stopped trying to live my life trying to prove a point to people. It's my life. I cannot dedicate my whole life trying to prove a point to people. I'm just going to allow God work through me, and people are definitely going to see his glory, right? So for me, that's how I've been able to overcome that. Just understanding that I'm truly living for the audience of one. And as long as God is pleased with me, that is all that matters. I'm not going to waste time trying to prove a point to people. People will see the glory of God. And at that point, when they come to ask me, I will still refer them back to God because God really does get all the glory. So yeah, there are many, many times when I have definitely felt, overlooked and all of that. Even like I said, even in the business that I'm doing right now, so many snide remarks about who do I think I am? What do I think I know? I'm just this. People, when you see me, you don't even recognize my age. You probably think I'm like in my 20s or so. And so people have a way, especially when they see that when you look like a child, like I do, people have a way of just talking to you and wanting to kind of put you to the back. But I've learned to confidently step into all that God has said I should do. And I've just realized that, again, as long as I'm living for the audience of one, that is all that matters.
God glorifies himself through men the way that he chooses. He doesn't pick the perfect one to do whatever he chooses to do. And just to go back to, I know you may have said may have given a couple of answers or response to these questions that I'm about to ask. Have you ever felt like giving up, and what made you stay resilient? Because it's one thing to be very confident
Mhm.
about what you're doing, and it's another thing to stay on it, to be
Yeah.
not to let go or give up. So have you ever felt that way? Where did you set your gaze on to stay resilient? No, I have been called to do this, so I'm staying with this.
The example that comes to mind was really when we were starting the Ryolux store. So we got the property, I think, in January, and that in itself was a miracle because with commercial leases, especially in Nigeria, they want you to pay like 2 years upfront. I did not even have 1 year to pay. So, it was a matter of taking, like when God said we should go ahead, I was like, I don't even have the 1 year of rent upfront, and spoke to the landlord, and the landlord, was like, oh, you can pay, you can break the payment. I was like, what? Because typically they want you to pay in bulk. And so I was able to break the payments, and then I was also able to start renovations even without fully paying for the place, which was like crazy to me. And so while all that was going, that was all I had at the time. I just had enough for that first step. How we were going to finish renovations, how we're going to stock the store, how we're going to do a lot of things, hire people. I didn't have the money for it. So it was literally like just asking God to help me understand this journey, because the Bible verse that will always come in my mind is, no one, what was that Bible verse that basically says that you don't start something without counting the cost first? There's a Bible verse that says that. And I'm just like, I feel like I'm not even counting the cost, but I realize in hindsight now that it was not my responsibility to count the cost. God already did. And all I had to do was align with Him. But you see, in those moments, especially when there was literally no money, contractors doing renovations in Nigeria is a lot. It's a lot while you are present. Now imagine if you're not there, right? So it was a lot having to navigate with like contractors and this and that and that. And at some point, I think this was around, we're supposed to launch in October initially. Because of one drama or the other, we literally had to push the launch to December. And I remember telling God, I said, God, honestly, I don't know the lesson you're trying to teach me here, but I think I've learnt it. It's okay. Like, we don't even have to proceed anymore. It's fine. I know I've lost a lot of money in this process. I will be okay with just saying is like, it's fine. Like, it's okay, because the mental battle was a lot. It was a lot. I don't think I fully unpacked what happened in that 1 year that we were renovating and getting all of this done. And so I remember one day I had gone to meet a friend in Canada, and she just said, let us pray about the business. And I said, okay. And we started praying, and the word we received at the time was that this business was part of God's end time agenda. And I was like, huh? Like, I don't even understand what that means, but I'm ready to trust it. And so the more I meditated on that word, it almost became impossible to give up, because I knew this was bigger than me. I knew that the battles I was going through were much more bigger than me. And I wouldn't even say that resiliency came on my own. I think resiliency was really provided by the grace of God at that moment, right? It was really tapping into the power of His word and using that to leverage my response to being resilient at the time. And so that was what came. That was it. That was the ammunition that I needed. And so what I realized at that moment was that His word was what produced strength. It wasn't anything that I manufactured by myself. If God hadn't spoken at that time, I would have given up. Like, it was that easy. Like, I would have given up. But because he had sent His word to me, I used that as ammunition to keep going. I used that as strength to keep going. And that was what did it for me. So resiliency for me, when people say, oh, how are you resilient? I'm like, talk to God, because He's the one that is really helping you and me on how to keep going when we want to give up. Because no matter what I tell you, no matter what data I provide, no matter what, blah, 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 if you want to give up, you give up. Because only you understand what you're going through at that time. Nobody else understands. It's only God that can give you a word that will make sense to you at that time to keep you going. And that's what happens.
I like the fact that you highlighted, anchor your life on the word of God. That
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, what advice would you give a woman starting out in your industry today?
I would say that definitely learn to collaborate. Don't enter the cycle of competition. Collaborate with people. There are people that have done what you want to do and are ready to help you if you allow it. But if you're going with the mindset of I want to compete, I want to da 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 da, then you totally miss it completely. I believe that there's enough room for everybody to enter this industry if you're willing to. I would also say do your research. The fragrance industry is not a very regulated industry, and sometimes for things to smell good, there are certain chemicals that people mix together that sometimes do more harm to your body than good. So at Ryolux, we've taken it a step further that all our fragrance oils are clean, and we are really particular about that, even down to the base of our diffuser. We don't use what everybody else uses on the market because we've done research and we've just found it harmful for the regular person. So we stay away from it. So I would say that while it is very unregulated and really almost anything can go, try as much as possible to take a step further and not do that, and actually do your research on what you're putting into your products, because at the end of the day, people are inhaling these things in their home and you want to make sure that it's safe for them. So those are the two that I would say.
So I get to ask people these questions a lot because I'm very, very curious. So if you could rewrite the rules for women in your field, what would you change?
I would change the access to resources. I think that the people that are top of my field right now are people that have access to a lot of money and a lot of resources. And unfortunately, when you're starting in my field, because you're not trying to do anything techie, you're not trying to save lives, sometimes capital can be very hard to come by, and it's difficult to find people that believe in your vision to fund you for what you want to do. And so if I could change the rule, I would say access to capital. I know that aromatherapy is a big deal when it comes to mental health and how people deal with a lot of stress issues. And so apart from the, oh, your house smells good type of thing, it really does help people with mental health. In fact, the vision that God gave me was I saw a woman who was undergoing chemotherapy. And when she surrounded herself with the candles, the more she inhaled them, the better she became. And I cross-checked that because I didn't know that. So I cross-checked that with a big sister of mine who was a nurse. And she said, yeah, like when people are going through chemotherapy, one thing that helps them overcome the pain is aromatherapy. So there's even science that links, smells around you to overcoming pain, and so that's very key. And so I think that kind of access to resources, access to capital, especially for people that are starting this industry, is a rule that I'd like to change just to make it easier for people to access that.
That's so profound. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your go-to affirmation or mantra if you have any?
Scripture, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runs into it and they are safe. Depending on the mood, those three always, always work for me. Yeah. So quick ones, they boost me and I'm back to norm. Yeah.
So what does growth look like to you now compared to when you started?
Growth right now, oh, that's a good question. Growth right now looks to me, I'm a bit selfish in the sense that before I would probably have measured growth maybe based on like revenue and all that stuff, and which is I still measure growth by that. Please don't get me wrong. We need money to do well in business, so I'm not even going to downplay that. But I also think in the same vein, growth to me has now become deeply personal, and I measure that by my response to challenges now. There are certain ways that I would have reacted to things in the past that I find that I've grown in, and I don't react to them like that anymore. And so because I'm very intentional about my personal growth, I try to use every opportunity to make sure that I'm growing in various areas of my life, and business will push your limits. So I think that all of this to me too has been kind of an experiment for myself in terms of a staff does something, and maybe initially I'd have reacted and I'd have shouted and I would have, but these days I find that I'm taking a step back and I'm really analyzing the situation before I give a response. Or maybe, somebody made a mistake, a genuine mistake. I used to have very low tolerance for mistake, as if I don't make mistakes too, right? But these days I'm realizing that, mistakes can really be rebranded as learning moments. And if I just calm down, we will find opportunities to learn in that mistake that will aid and foster us not to repeat that mistake again. But more than that, it would make us be more proactive in how we are putting our processes together going forward, right? Where now we can become thought leaders in this industry. So I don't shy away from mishaps or mistakes anymore, because I realize that this can also be a learning experience for others. So growth for me, yes, is in revenue, and it's in, we want to expand. We're looking to get a bigger space now. We've run out of the space we're currently in. We're scaling at a rate where we want to set up a factory, we want to get a store. So we're at that level right now, which is fantastic. But for me as a founder as well, and for me as a woman leader, I'm also looking for areas of growth, and I find that I'm also growing personally as well, which is great.
Absolutely beautiful. Okay, so I know you said you're not just looking out for growth in terms of revenue and all of that. So, but what impact do you hope that your business have beyond profit, like the revenue?
That's a great question. And I think I actually had that conversation with my sister today on our way back from church. And I was telling them that, I have a staff right now that's going on maternity leave. And I'm so excited. I can't even tell you why, but I'm so excited. And I think the excitement is coming from a place where I feel blessed that I'm able to send someone on leave to give birth to a child, and to just know that I'm part of that story, that she has worked and she has income now to, take care of this child that is coming. But more than that, one of the many things that I would like to provide, for my staff is I also want them to be able to bring their kids to work. And so that work-life balance is something that I genuinely want to be able to provide rather for people that work with us, where I work with all women at this time, and I know how stressful it can be for women who have children to have to balance that with work, and I have to go pick up my child, or I have to do this, I have to do that. And I was just like, it would be so cool if in our next space we can have a space where women can bring their kids, because the work they're doing there, where they're not using anything that is dangerous. You really can bring a child there, and so having that opportunity to create that kind of atmosphere, I think, will be amazing. And so that's something that I'm looking forward to providing for staff. I also want to be able to have a scholarship fund for kids that are going to school. Yeah, it's something that I wish I had growing up. I think that when I was entering university, I had just come to the States and I couldn't qualify for a lot of scholarships. And I know the mental stress that kids go through, with money, especially people that cannot afford going, paying their way through school. So we would like to set a scholarship fund apart where, we would have a fund that will literally be able to send people to school. I could go on and on about impact, but another one that I want to make is, again, for the youth, to give them skills. So I want to be able to build a proper internship program. I believe that, I was a beneficiary of that too when I left university, going into an organization that I was just exposed to a lot of things. And it was kind of a catch all. But I believe that the internship program I'm referring to right now is not like, oh, go and get coffee for us or buy food for us. No, like really getting them to think about how to make decisions well. Critical thinking, I think, is one that I would definitely want to imbibe, because running a business evolves. You're making decisions constantly and you can get decision fatigue, right? But there's also a structure of how you make those decisions that you wouldn't get there. And so that's an impact I want to give to the next generation as soon as possible when they leave school, that they can take anywhere in any field that they work in. It doesn't have to be this industry, but they can literally take to any field that they decide to work in. So I have a laundry list of impacts, but I think those are like top three for me, and they're really human driven. They're human driven. I think anything to make people's lives easier, I definitely want to be a part of it.
Have you got structures in place already? Are you, because we're coming back to interview you again.
Yeah, so structures in what sense? So I can answer your question.
On if you got a structure like a platform where you're doing these things that you just mentioned, trying to impact young minds, the whole scholarship, have you got a structure on ground in place already?
Yeah, so I actually sit on the board of a nonprofit right now, Treasured House Foundation, and so I'm what they do and what we do is to really, provide infrastructural assistance to a lot of schools, schools in Nigeria that just are falling apart, for lack of a better word. And so I think putting myself in those spaces, I'm seeing the need. I'm already seeing the need, right? And I'm exposing my mind to there's a growing need here because apart from fixing up the schools is one, it's just one aspect of it. What are they actually even teaching these kids, right? And so that's already gotten me thinking through, okay, how can I leverage this partnership that I have with this nonprofit to really align with them to let us, scale in a way that drives impact long term for the kids. And so that's one thing that I have ongoing right now. In terms of, my for the staff and making sure that they're able to have a proper work-life balance. That's something that we're working on right now as we speak in terms of securing a better location, a bigger location. And so hopefully by the grace of God by next year we would have moved. But that's something that I want. We have one staff right now that I know will benefit from that, and so we're going to use her as an experiment. Deborah, if you're hearing this, yes, that's what we're doing. We're going to use it as an experiment to see how well that works and if we can scale it. Because if we can, it'll be beautiful if we can, where women that work with us can relax and know that, okay, they have a place where their kids are, they want to bring them in, that, that their minds are at rest. So we're going to use that as an experiment. So there are a couple of things in the works right now, that are shaking out, and but all of these impacts is long term, and so I'm not in any rush to jump into anything. I'm just learning as I go, and I'm absorbing and using that to curate and create the solutions that I want to have out there.
I want to work for you now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you give us an instance where you intentionally celebrated yourself as an amazing sin woman?
I intentionally celebrated myself. Oh, that's a tough one because when you are working, when you're an entrepreneur, it's hard to stop and really just say, okay, or you've tried, or take a break, celebrate yourself, and all of that. But I think I do little things to celebrate myself. They might not seem grand for everybody, but getting a massage is great. I use that to celebrate myself. Getting a pedicure is fantastic. Just little treats here and there. I want to travel more this year. I feel like because I've been building the business, every time I had time to travel, I would always go to Nigeria because that's where the business is. But this year, I'm like, okay, I want to intentionally not go to Nigeria and go somewhere else and just relax. So that's something that I'm working on right now. I'm also just thinking of taking little retreats and being intentional with treating myself really and celebrating myself. So I'm scheduling time off on my calendar for the rest of the year now where I'll just go on a 1 or 2 day retreat and just be reflect on what has happened, what needs to happen, and make plans. Because when you go, 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 and you don't stop sometimes, that can also be detrimental to the growth that you're hoping to see. So
A very
yeah.
last question. So, what's one thing you want every woman listening to you now? Like, what would you want them to know?
Yeah, what I would want them to know to everyone who's listening is number one, you don't have any point to prove. You don't have any point to prove. I think sometimes as women, we are so hard on ourselves. We see other women and what they're doing, and and you're like, oh, if she's doing that, me too, I can do it. And we enter this space where we want to prove that we too we can, and it's like you don't have any point to prove. You can't use your entire life, the one life that you have, using to prove a point. Doesn't make sense. So, let's just stop doing that. Let's get really comfortable in what God has sent us to do. Not everyone will be an entrepreneur. Not everyone will, be out there. It's fine. It's totally fine as long as you're in the will of God and you're doing exactly what God wants you to do. Trust me, you're doing well. So that's something I want all women to know. You're doing okay. You're doing well. All you have to do is make sure you're in the will of God. Once you're in the will of God, everything else it will take care of itself. So don't look at another woman's journey and say, "Oh, I wish I could do that," or "I wish I could do this," or "I wish I could do that." And I'm not saying that that doesn't mean you shouldn't aspire to be more, but there has to be a balance that whatever more you're aspiring to, it also must still be in the will of God. So if the will of God for your life is you're going to be the best stay-home mom ever, please be the best stay-home mom ever. I want to learn from you too, because I want to know how to do that, right? And if God has asked you to, be a forerunner in an industry, do the best that you absolutely can in making sure that you're doing that. Whatever it is that God has put in your hands, do it to your best ability. But never, never, ever, ever for once feel like you have to prove a point with your life. It's not worth it.
Like every answer to every question has been absolutely, absolutely great. I've learned a lot. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for shining your light. Thank you for being a sane woman. Thank you for being that woman that generations to come will look up to.
Amen. Amen.
I want to do what you do. A woman who inspires generation to want to go beyond themselves into the will of God. So thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. Thank you for spending your time. I know you should be resting.
It's no worries. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this.
Hopefully, we get to interview you next time.
Yes, for sure. Just let me know. Let me know.